that I sense more buyers have a comfort level. We get down to 6, you get even more buyers that have this comfort level. But at 7, it's a little scratchy, like Tom's internet.
If you're not getting educated about current market conditions, whether you're in title, mortgage, finance, you're an attorney, an accountant, or obviously you sell real estate, you're doing yourself and your client base a disservice. This is the Knowledge Brokers Podcast. I'm Tom Toole. I'm here with Byron Lazine and Lisa Chinatti. And this week's been a little less drama, a little less news about what's going on in the market, some stabilization among rates. We've seen some ludicrous headlines come out about foreclosures spiking, which we can certainly unpack, that looks to be very unfounded. And affordability and rate watching and inventory watching continue to be the challenges that agents are seeing. So, Byron, what's going on in your markets? How are you feeling right now on June 9th? And what's your outlook for the rest of the year?
So for us, we are having a super positive kind of feel across the board. Inventory is holding steady, which I think is huge. It's increasing at about the same amount week over week for the past month, with the exception of Memorial Day week. Pendings are up dramatically, and I think we're seeing a little bit of an unlock in getting some of the buyers into homes, which is super positive. Agents are feeling super positive that they're clearing out some of their pipeline. And I think consumers tend to feel positive. They have a positive outlook about the market itself.
Consumers,
Yeah.
overall consumers, but not specifically the category of home shoppers. So you're going overall consumers?
I think, I think all overall, I think, buyers are feeling like there's still definitely opportunity. I think that they don't feel as uncertain about the rates. I think that they have, now that the debt ceiling stuff is kind of resolved, I think everybody's kind of feeling like things are a little bit stable right now. And I think we're seeing buyers not afraid to take a little bit more risk with putting in offers and understanding that rates, while still high, I think are still temporarily high. I think consumers are kind of beginning to understand that there's ways to work around it. With the right coaching. How about that? When you put a
There you
skilled and
go.
Thank
knowledgeable
you.
agent in there.
There you go, Lisa. Knowledge Brokers
Oh,
plug in the first 5 minutes. I love that. Yeah, so I'll break down our market, the market that I'm tracking, Connecticut market, that is. Nationally first, though, active inventory grew 3,100 homes for the week, which is, well off of what we've seen, in the past for a more healthy market. And new listing data is even further off, 55,000 for the week, when weeks, similar weeks in 2021 and 22 were over 70,000. If you go back into, 2015, 16, 17 timeframe, you're talking into the 90,000 range. So we're trending towards a new all-time low for new listings. I think that's going to be probably a similar story in most markets. When I look at the Connecticut market and Northeast, Lisa's obviously in the Northeast. Northeast has been one of those markets that's been the tightest in inventory overall. But Connecticut did show a little sign of life, of improving on inventory for the month of May. So May total inventory for single family homes was up a little bit, a few hundred. If you go April, 4,800 home for sales in April. May for the entire MLS in Connecticut was over 5,050. That's just single family that I'm doing on that reading. So down 27.3% for the year, up a little bit there month over month. And even new listings rose. So you're seeing new listings across the country trend towards all-time low. You'd hate to see that number drop this time of year. April was 2,900 and May was 3,400. I know Tom and Lisa and myself, we'd love to know from you what your market looks like for new listings month over month and total homes for sale month over month. If you want to drop that into the comments, we'd love to read through those. And any comments where you have questions. Lisa, last week, Tom and I did a whole Q&A session at the end the one that you had to skip on last week. If you remember?
Poor
Yeah,
time
I do.
management by Lisa. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, at least my internet works.
I mean, we're fine.
All right, Tom. What are you seeing in Philly?
Well, so what's fascinating about this, and I think this is where the knowledge broker can actually deliver a lot of value to their clients. And again, this is going to be dependent on your market. What we've seen is while the end of month inventory has been basically flat year over year for the month of May in the 4-county area in the city of Philadelphia, the month supply of inventory is up by 0.4 of a month. So last year we were seeing around a 2-month supply. Now it's a 2.4-month supply because the pace of sales is slower. So there are more options out there for people than there may have been. I mean, you look at total sales, but there's going to be less homes that sell this year. So it's a supply and demand sort of thing. And this is the message that knowledge brokers will be delivering. I mean, we're seeing anywhere from a 15 to 30% increase in supply, not total number of homes sold, because there was more buyers last year. Understanding how supply works and absorption rates are very important right now, because it still doesn't feel like there's a lot of homes for sale. We all know that. But when you realize, okay, well, I've got and it's up 15 to 30%, and maybe I've got to look at the home that's been on the market 10 days, 14 days, whatever that might be, there's some opportunity there. And that's pretty advanced for most agents to understand absorption rate and supply and what that all means. It's not that hard. You literally take the number of homes that sold the past month, divide it by the active inventory, and that's going to give you the supply. So you do a quick math equation: active inventory divided by pending sales, whatever the number comes out to, that's your month supply.
You shouldn't have to even run the number. Most MLSs have, like the Connecticut MLS, which is about to change over, I think, next month to something else. They're always changing every couple of years to hold some shred of value. But they have a feature, an app basically inside the MLS called InfoSparks. Okay. Yeah, a lot of the data is run through showing time. But anyways, this will give you charts and graphs on months of supply. I've seen similar, features in the Florida MLS. I don't know about Mass or I think you're on Bright,
Yep.
Tom, but most of the MLSs have this. And I know when I ask agents, hey, are you using InfoSparks? Are you taking a screenshot there and sending it to a client? Like, huh? InfoSparks? Like, click around the other tiles in the MLS. There's actually some really good usable data in there that's localized that you can use to your advantage. Months of supply for Connecticut in May was 2 months even. Last May was 2.1. And then we peaked out in July at 2.6 months of inventory. I'm curious if you're seeing a similar scenario where, the middle of the summer last year is where your peak was for months of supply. And do we expect that trend to continue this year where June, July, and August are maybe the peak months of supply this year? Or do you think it might be Q4? I got reason to believe that it could be early Q4 where we see the high point a little bit later than traditionally. But maybe you disagree with that.
Lisa
Yeah,
disagreed.
I disagree with that actually. And to answer your question, we're pretty much flat. June of or this same time period last year, we were at 1.07 months of supply. Today we're at 1.16. So that's pretty much flat.
Yeah, flat here too. Yeah.
I disagree about the early Q4. That would imply that we're looking at October-ish, maybe November.
Late September, October. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see that. And I especially Connecticut, Massachusetts, I'm not so sure about Pennsylvania, but snow and winter weather factors in heavily into our stuff. Also for us, school systems are a big
Holidays.
driver. Yeah. So I don't know. I would disagree. I think it may go a little bit later. I think we might see inventory still increasing until late August, maybe early September. But I think that by the time we hit Labor Day, we're going to be trending back down heavily in inventory.
Yeah, I'm going to basically amend that. Late Q3 as opposed to early Q4. Because last year for Connecticut, it was basically end of Q2. I think it's going to be a little bit later as people get a little bit more uneasy about the economy, maybe feel like they missed the market. They may be listing a little bit later this year And by the time they decide to either, get it sold or pull it off the market, might just be, so I'm going to amend that to late Q3. That would be not early Q4, as opposed to, middle of the year in July, like it was last year for us. Tom, what do you think?
Well, what I know is that I'm a big believer in charting how much business you put under contract every month of the year historically. And a lot of people have said, and I would agree with this, that the conditions this year have been more like 2021 than 2022, where it was really tough to get offers accepted. Inventory was light. Obviously, more demand, more homes, but inventory was light relative to the demand. And last year, what a lot of folks are saying was, I'm feeling the shift coming. And you could hear that like in April and in May. And no one has said that this year. And I would agree that demand has been pretty frothy. And when I looked at our 2021 numbers through the month of June versus our 2022 numbers, in 2021, we had 55% of our business booked for the year by June 30th. Typically, the target's around 60 that we shoot for. In 2022, that number was over 65%. It was 65.34. So my hope and hallucination here, and for all the agents listening, pay attention. There's an opportunity this summer and into that month of September and then maybe early October. And then that's when things kind of get a little crazy with school systems and all the stuff you're talking about. There's a window here to catch up for the business you didn't do earlier in the year, for the homes you didn't sell. And your goals probably dictate this for a lot of people, knowing the market's down. Again, locally, we're down in terms of number of homes that have sold 27% from this time last year through the end of May. That's where we are in the greater Philadelphia area. So there's going to be an opportunity here for the people that want to keep working, that everyone's going to take a summer vacation. Don't make the mistake of turning a 1-week vacation into a 4-week vacation by, I'm not going to work, Lisa. Byron, I'm just going to take it easy. I'm not going to take any new clients until I go away and really can unplug. And then when I get back, I'm going to ramp things up. That is a bonehead move that bites people in the ass every single time. Your goal as an agent should be to have your phone, you're getting on the plane, you're negotiating a deal, and say, hey, I'm getting on a plane. My coverage team's going to jump in now. I'm going to do an introduction text, and then you go do your thing. And you might have to block out an hour a day to handle some business, but you're not going to cost yourself money, and you're not going to lose momentum right now, because there is some momentum in the market. Don't make the mistake of just unwinding it, because momentum is easier to keep. It's harder to generate.
And stop flying these $99 airfare scam planes that charge you $200 for bags. Delta right now has free Wi-Fi. The minute you sit down, the free Wi-Fi starts. You don't have to wait till you take off anymore. It's a beautiful thing on Delta. But Tom, you said something in there that is a practice that I've done, where you figure out the percentage of deals historically in your market each month. So January, actually, Lisa, you and I shared a coach back in the day who was the one that taught me this. And where you basically go through your MLS and you figure out, okay, is it 6% of the annual sales in January? Is it 5% in February? Obviously, that number grows into the seasonal spring market. That data is not on the tile that I'm talking about in my MLS, which would be this Info Sparks, where it gives you all the charts. So I actually have to manually do that. I wouldn't go and do 2020, 2021, and 2022 if I'm computing this number. I would go 17, 18, and 19. And I'd take those 3 years and go total transactions and figure out the percentage of each month, January through December. So you're going to have an average for those 3 years. And again, it'll probably be lower in January, depending on your market. But now you know the percentages that you as an agent, if you want to do 50 transactions next year in 2024, you know that you're going to need 12% of those to close potentially in July, which means, May and March, April and May, those prospecting months, to get 12% of your closings to happen in June or July, there's going to have to be a specific focus there. It's a good practice just to kind of say, okay, am I above market trend or below market trend month over month as you move through a year?
Where I find it gets more.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lisa.
No, I was going to say that's hugely important. And yes, you're correct that a very wise coach taught us that way back in the day. I think one of the other things that's super important for folks who've been in the industry for it back in that 2017, 2018, even 2019 market is to look at how your historical sales compare to those stats for your marketplace. Interestingly enough, my personal production always fell heavier towards Q4. And I think that you'll find some interesting trends in the way that you tend to work just with your own drive and how your personal obligations tend to come and go seasonally if you've got kids or family
That,
commitments and that kind of stuff as well.
that could be a factor, but you said drive in there. I mean, that's maybe not as big of a factor as the other stuff, but I think it's a significant part of the equation because Lisa, you're like a Bill Belichick. You're like a second half, player. You want to make halftime adjustments. I know Tom used this on our mastermind call today. He's talking about being a second half team, making sure that they finish strong. But Lisa, you like to make little tinkering adjustments throughout the year. So not surprising that you have a strong quarter four and just extra motivation to get past that finish line.
That might be a fair statement, but again, maybe, and that's something that maybe all of us could take away a little bit more from. And one of the things that we don't do enough as agents or business owners, or however we're looking at it, is, one of the things that we do every end of quarter: step off site, assess what went well, what could have done better, what we could have done better, and make adjustments and tinkerings, whether it's to prospecting hours, whether it's to scripting, lead sources, all of that different kind of stuff. And so maybe a really good takeaway, that's something we could all do a little bit better.
Well, a lot of us run EOS or some sort of operating system, and that's like that's a hallmark of those systems is having a quarterly meeting and saying what worked, what didn't, what are the wins. Let's look at the numbers. That's what businesses do. And for the knowledge brokers out there that want to get serious about their business, you got to look at your numbers. I mean, I'm giving you numbers here that historically, that 60% number, I've seen it for 21 years. That's been the average. I think it gets really exciting for agents when instead of putting how many houses you got to sell, it's how much commission dollars you want to make in each of those months and put that number in there. If your goal is 100,000, you got to hit 6% in January or whatever the number is. That tends to get people a lot more excited. I learned that from my first mentor I have, and it was literally like he gave me a grid of 12 months and said, hey, plan out your year. And it was mind-blowing to me how simple that is, but also how effective. Because think about how overwhelming a 12-month plan can be for a lot of people, or even a 6-month plan. If we're looking at the end of Q2, when you can focus on 30 days and no, here's what I got to do the next 30 days, that can help people to have that longer view of the year, like someone like Lisa does or Byron does. And there's no reason to wait. You can start right now. I mean, we're in basically the end of the second quarter. You can start for the month of June and catch up right now. And hey, what do I get done the next 21 days and go from there? And even make it like a weekly plan. And when you chunk stuff down, that's where you can be much more successful because you're trying to hit those short-term things that move the needle long-term and help you gain that sustained action over time and that sort of flywheel concept that a lot of great companies follow.
Become a better agent. Everyone tells you what to do. We actually show you how to do it. That's with our BAM X subscription down below. Make sure you sign up today. We have an event coming up in September. All of our events and creator courses, you get 25% off when you're a BAM X member. You don't want to miss any of these upcoming events. And in the meantime, we're uploading new BAM courses every single month from our BAM team that you have instant access to along with the live streams. Sign up for BAMX today so you can become a better agent. Yeah, there's no reason to wait as the knowledge broker. Unfortunately, many of our consumers are deciding to wait. And there was a Housing Wire report that states 64% of Americans are waiting for rates to drop in order to buy. Let's break that down a little bit more. And what are your thoughts on that? And what should we be doing to educate those who are in waiting category right now?
Well, it's not shocking, right? I mean, it's one of the big points that we've all. What are you snickering about?
Because it's not shocking. It's a very valid point. You're absolutely right. I'm not snickering about anything. Jeez.
I thought that was another internet glitch. That little.
I'm gonna take my internet and shove it up your ass, Byron. How about that? So.
Sense some beeping coming. Anyway, we've been talking about it, right? 67% or so of consumers have a mortgage rate that starts with a 2 or a 3. Of course, those folks don't want to pay a rate that starts with a 6, 9, or a 7, or 6.8, right? Like I think we were all kind of talking about seeing 6.7, 6.8 in our local marketplaces this week. And of course, it makes sense. Those consumers want those rates to fall. I don't think it's impacting first-time buyers as much, though, right? But if we look at hence why the demand is a little bit lower and the month's supply of inventory is flat, even though the amount of inventory is low, it's perspective, my personal opinion.
Well, and
Yeah, nearly 2/3 of Americans say they're waiting for mortgage rates to drop before entering the market. This is released by a survey done by BMO Financial Group. It's the 8th largest bank in North America. Doesn't mean that they can't fail, but they are the 8th largest right now. Among those who plan to purchase a home soon, only 6% expect to do so this summer. Go ahead, Tom.
well, so you look at these numbers, and I mean, the Mortgage Bankers Association said mortgage apps are down about 30% from the year prior for the week ending June 2nd. The KCM chart, we've shown this before. I don't know. We can put it up again if we need to. When rates get up to 7, the demand drops. Like it's like clockwork. 6.5, it's moving. And the unfortunate thing about this, there's many unfortunate things about this debt ceiling issue. One is the incompetence of the federal government. But besides that, that really caused these rates to jump. And we had George Ratu on. That spread we're seeing right now is a measure of downside risk. And I think people are still a little nervous about what happens the second half of the year. And the government not coming to a debt ceiling deal doesn't help. And we've got this Fed meeting coming up. Hope, my prediction is right now with the Fed, there's a 72% chance they're not going to raise rates. That might bring some stability to the market. Maybe we'll see things kind of come back down. And I am clear rates will come down. I know you said that at the beginning of the show, Byron. I think a lot of people feel the same way. But if you can get down to like 6.5, it's going to relieve some of this pressure and hesitation right now. And that's best case scenario for the rest of the month of June, in my view.
Yeah, the spread that Tom just mentioned that you can go and learn a lot more about if you go back a couple episodes to chief economist from KCM, formerly of Realtor.com, George Ratu, that we had on. That spread he's talking about is the relationship between the 10-year and the 30-year, which is out of historic norms. Historical norms is where it's basically a 2-point spread, and we're operating closer to a 3-point spread today. Next week will be interesting. We'll get to do a pod. When are we doing the pod? Because I think we're changing the time. I mean, it'll still be released at the same time, but we're doing Thursday afternoon.
I hope we can do Thursday.
By the way, well, I might not be able to do that, but the 13th and the 14th are Tuesday and Wednesday. That's the FOMC meeting. So the pod that will be post FOMC meeting anyways. And what we've seen the last few is that either within hours or days of Jerome Powell's speech, we've seen the 10-year pull down. This is just based off of the last few meetings. And then we've seen the 30-year pull down. And that's in the recent weeks. And then there's been reasons why 3 weeks later it goes back up. But you could have 2 or 3 weeks after June 13th and 14th of next week where you see this 30-year get back closer to 6.5. That's been the number just off of feel. Love to know in the comments what you're feeling in your market. That I sense more buyers have a comfort level. We get down to 6, you get even more buyers that have this comfort level. But at 7, it's a little scratchy. Like Tom's internet.
Tom's screen goes black.
Because of all the smoke and Pennsylvania.
All right, what else we got here?
Well, the other thing I think that's interesting to mention is that you talked about first-time home buyers, Byron. Well, the affordability continues to be an issue. Housing Wire had a nice piece that came out based on the Altos research data that as of June 2nd, that only median income earners were able to afford roughly 25% of current listings. So this is where the market kind of gets jammed up, because when the first-time home buyers buy, right, that creates a buyer at a higher price point. Now, we don't have the inventory getting alleviated, so we've got this small affordability now. They can only afford 25% of current listings if you are in the median income. And that's over half of U.S. households, 51%, earn $75,000 or less. So you would hope in a balanced market, 51% of the homes for sale would be affordable. That's not the case. So, and based on that report, the housing market needs an additional 319,000 listings priced under 256,000 in order for the market to be balanced. Like that's not happening anytime soon. Like what can you even get for 250 in each of your markets?
Nothing I would move into, but not saying there's not saying there's totally anything wrong with some of these properties, but yeah, not much. For those that say 7% rates they want to use this line that, oh, it's normal. It's I remember I had 8 and 9% 30-year fixed rate. 7% mortgage interest rate is bad for this market. It's really bad. And anybody that tells anyone differently is lying. Unless they want home prices to come down 10 or even 20%, 7% interest rates push us above unaffordability zone above the 2007 level. Once you get back down to 6.5%, you're actually below that level. Time's different. We've printed a lot more money. I'm just not comfortable being above 07 level when it comes to affordability. And 7%, every time we go above it, it pushes us over that number. So that's where I want to be in the high fives, regardless of what's normal or not. We just went through the most abnormal 2 or 3 years that put us in this situation to begin with. So we're creating a new normal. And to me, it's got to be a sub 6 interest rate, hopefully by the end of this year.
I think it gets there. I mean, it's got to, right? That's all I keep saying. It's got to.
There's less projections that put it there. There's still some people holding strong on the high fives by December, but just we didn't think we'd be sitting, this close to 7 at this point in the year. So that's where some people have adjusted.
I understand that. I think, when you look at some of the stuff coming out, I think, the job stuff, I think was a little bit unexpected. Sorry, I didn't listen to last week's podcast. I don't know if you guys.
It was actually, Tom, wasn't it one of the best?
I mean, that's voted the best by the listeners. I have the data right here. Number 1 knowledge brokers of all time.
Salty.
By the way, we're about to hit 1,000 subs. So if you listen on YouTube, hit subscribe. That'll make Lisa feel good that she was on the episode that pushed us over the 1,000 mark there.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, what I was saying was reading the stuff that came out with the jobs report and not that we ever want to celebrate joblessness, right? But the fact that there were more filings for unemployment was a good thing. The fact that, for rates and where that's going to go and maybe putting a pause on some of the increases. I'm feeling positive. That's what I'm going to leave this with. I'm feeling positive.
I like your outlook. I mean, I do. I don't know.
I'm thinking it into positivity, and putting it into the universe, and it's going to happen.
Lisa is that powerful that her positive thinking will change the real estate market. Amazing.
And it's going to increase the number of subscribers.
Well, here's somebody who commented at Homes in Orlando on last week's episode. And Lisa, maybe we'll get your positive outlook on this. It says, what you are missing is the $1 trillion Yellen is putting into the market. Rates are headed up. So while we're talking about, we still, and I've heard this argument before, so this isn't the first time I've heard it, essentially and part of it has to do with the debt deal that we just put together. We got to go out there and get people to buy, our debt, other countries to buy our debt. And there's a theory that could push the rates up, not down. What would you say? What's your positivity outlook say about that, Lisa?
Oh, goodness. I mean, there's always going to be things. I'm focusing on the positive. I mean, truth be told, there's always going to be things that we need to keep an eye on, right? I think if they go any higher, it's clearly going to create issues. My gut says that I'm having a very, very difficult time articulating my thoughts at the moment. I don't know. I just don't see it getting there because I think the ripple effect that it creates of other troubles is far greater than some of the other stuff, right? I'm tongue-tied at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if we got to 8% on the 30-year
Oh
fixed,
man.
that would put, based off the relationship, the 10-year at like 5.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't see that happening either. I'm just there's a counter argument that states, based off of um, where we're at, and begging countries to take our debt on right now. There was a great analogy I heard about this where, they have so much of our debt, so we have to make it more lucrative for them to take more of it. They already have so much, right? And they got to we got to make it more lucrative for them to take it, which um, can push the rates up. But I mean, a lot of it depends on what happens next week, 13th and 14th, for the short term, and how the markets react to that. To Tom's point, 30% of the market is projecting an actual rate increase, while about 70% of the market is projecting that we will have a rate pause next week on the federal interest rate. And then we'll see how the 10-year reacts to that, and what that trickled into the 30-year will do next week. Tom, anything from you?
I hope we don't see 8%. I mean, that's not good. I agree with you guys. I mean,
We
I just
can't.
don't. Given the spread on the 10-year and how far away the spread of the 10-year and the 30-year fixed rate on mortgages is, I mean, you're starting to defy economic history and economic principles at that point, and that's where, we've seen stuff happen before. A lot of this is just like it's the post come down of what's happening here, because they put so much cash into the market, rates came down. We saw what it did to this housing sales. This is a normalization, and I anticipate it going the way a lot of people think it's going to. It's going to be this softer sort of landing the end of the year. It's going to be gradual, and all the more reason for the agents listening that want to be knowledge brokers, or are actually paying attention to what we're talking about. And I'd love to see some comments below about if you feel like you need kind of more of this advice. You got to have these conversations and talk to people about what the heck is going on. I mean, there's so much clickbait out there. I mean, Steve Harney was talking about how someone said foreclosures are going to be spiking. And then when you look at the actual number, it's less than we saw in 2019, 2018, 2017. It's just more than the unicorn market, right? So that's not a spike. That's a normalization. And I think you had a great point, Byron. Like, we had 8% rates. Well, the last time we had 8% rates was like in the 2000s. Home prices were a lot less then. So I don't care what anyone says. Like, it still costs more, and you got higher numbers you're financing. So the math doesn't always equate. And 7% that's been where it gets uncomfortable. Look at what happened last fall. Rates hit 7% in October. And it was what did you call it, Lisa? A very cold fourth quarter in New Hampshire or something like that. I mean, it's what happened.
It was winter. Yeah, in every sense of the word. I just think the reason that I'm so kind of certain that we won't hit 8 is that the long-term impact, I just don't see us as a country, a society, whatever, allowing that to happen, because it's going to further lock inventory. It's going to further the issue that we're experiencing right now. It's going to further put a strain on affordability for different reasons than what we're seeing even. There's so many factors causing the decrease in affordability, but if we can't figure out ways to get that under control, to start to unlock some of the inventory, the problems become problems that are going to be here for 5, 10, 15. It's going to be generational problems. And I just don't see us as a society allowing that to happen.
We're trending at about 4.25 million, so 4.4 million. I've seen 4.2 million, somewhere in that range, for seasonally adjusted home sales for the year. And when the debt deal discussion was going on, they said, well, if the debt deal doesn't happen, Zillow projected that interest rates would go to 8 at that time. Obviously, we have a debt deal in place. So, I don't see anybody reporting 8%, by the way. I do see some theories out there on the internet that you could have rates go up, and that commenter on last week's pod would, fits into that category. But when Zillow stated this, that if rates went up to 8%, they said that seasonally adjusted home sales, total transactions, would go down to 3.3 million. We'd lose about 1 million. And so take that into context in your local market. If every 4 sales, 1 would go away at 8%, you'd actually see another 25% drop in your local market in total transactions, give or take, right? That's just a kind of a back of the napkin number there. but essentially 1 out of 4 deals would disappear. We've already experienced that based off of, 18 months ago, the total transactions we were seeing. Almost every market in America has seen, a 20, 25, 30% reduction in total transactions. So you go to 8%, you're going to see that again. What's interesting is I don't think you necessarily see home prices plummet, at 3 million transactions.
Nope.
You just have people sitting in there, 67%, like Lisa said, have an interest rate that starts with a 2 or a 3. So they're not going to go on fire sale. We know that 42% of all homes in America don't even have a mortgage.
Yep.
They're certainly not going to fire sale. So the big problem with 8% interest rates is the market just goes into hideaway mode. And so if you want an active, fluid market, people need to move forward with their lives, and they've got plans to move into a different school district or whatever the case may be. We need an interest rate that supports that. Lisa, I do want to update. I had made a few pods ago, maybe a couple months ago even. I said, hey, rents are coming down in the country. And I had that Barry Sternlight chart, obviously, that showed that, and with his modeling. And you said not in Boston. And you were right about that. You were right on your numbers for rent. So Redfin this morning had a report, rental market tracker, asking rents fall 2% in the West, but rise 5% in the Northeast, in the Midwest. But year over year, and I hope going into next week that Jerome Powell is listening to this or reading the same report that I am, nationwide, rents have declined 1% from a year ago in May. This just came out this morning. It's the largest drop since 2020. So it's not the case in the Northeast. It's not the case in the Midwest right now. But when you go nationally, we're down 1% from this time last year. It's the largest drop since March of 2020, which March of 2020, there was, something going around that definitely dropped rates, right? And our rents. And so this is a good sign to me for where we are in inflation and what they're going to do with the federal interest rate, because inflation makes up the largest percentage of shelter rents make up the largest percentage of inflation. If they're looking at real-time data, which I know they're not, unfortunately, you would make the argument that a pause next week is definitely in the cards. We'll see what they do next week. We'll react to that on next week's Knowledge Broker Pod. Love for you to consider subscribing to the channel. We'd love to come into next week above the 1K mark. And also, if you've got any questions, that was a big hit last week with me and Tom on the duo pod. It was an all-time podcast. Of course, it was maybe one of the greatest
in the history of the internet. I heard
when it comes to knowledge broker.
You broke the web. I get it.
I
get it.
Yeah, it was just completely smashed. But if you've got questions, drop them into this week's comment section on YouTube. We'll pull a couple at the end of the show and do some Q&A. And any final thoughts, or you want to wrap this up?
Stay positive. Keep working.
Yeah, positive Lisa over there. Jeez, I'm gonna drive up.
Imagine what negative Lisa
Boston
looks like if this is positive Lisa. I mean, seriously, think about this.
Dude, I'm in such a good spot. Like, I'm so happy, and positive vibes.
Oh, update on Lisa taking time off. Tomorrow she's going floating.
I'm gonna float therapy.
Float therapy.
Yeah.
So Lisa is human.
Barely.
But it's an hour. In sensory deprivation.
Are you able to bring your phone in and manage home value leads during the float spot? You have a waterproof case.
They're actually taking bets whether I could make it the whole hour in complete darkness.
Is it an hour? Is it an hour?
It's an hour in complete darkness and silence. And I'm going to be honest. I'm just aiming for 20 minutes.
So we had a free session a few years ago, but it was probably before the pandemic. And Nicole and I went in a place in New Haven, actually. And I stayed the whole time. I really enjoyed it. I get out and I look at my phone, and Nicole, there's a text message from Nicole. She's like, I lasted about 2 minutes. I'm down around the corner at the bar. Meet me over here. I'm like, you lasted 2 minutes? She hated it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it could go either way. It'll be interesting. I don't normally stay still that long or silent, but if I can fall asleep, it'll be a win. I just don't know if that's actually possible.
Jeez. Well, we'll
Yeah,
find out how good
I would be
buoyancy
asleep in
is.
about 10 seconds in that thing. So,
All right.
we're
Have a
back
great
next
weekend,
week.
everyone. And we'll see you next week. Yeah. Knowledge time.